My guest today is fellow copywriter Jenny Roth. Jenny is a sales copywriter and email marketing strategist for female founders. Her copy process is rooted in client voice, market research, and words that honor your value and build relationships. So, as the copywriter behind hundreds of launches and funnels, Jenny fully believes that good copy needs to do more than just make sales. It also has to leave your clients feeling so confident and excited with zero buyer's remorse when working with you. So in today's episode, she gives some great examples of emails that you can send to build relationships and start conversations with your subscribers. She also talks about how to write emails when you have to write an email, but you really feel stuck on what to say. We get into that and a whole lot more. So let's get into it. All right. Thank you so much, Jenny, for joining me today. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Linda, for having me on your show. I feel so lucky to get to talk to you. So I'm excited to be here.
It's always nice to talk to another copywriter because we know, the struggles and the challenges, and it's just good to kind of be able to bounce things off of another copywriter. And especially because we kind of specialize in different areas. So can you talk a little bit about, how you got into your specialty? And especially you said you're an email marketing strategist for female founders. So how did that come about?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for the question. So I think how it came about is if anyone listening to this is a copywriter, you kind of know the story, right? I started as a magazine writer, a magazine editor, and I kind of we would write stories about local businesses in this community magazine, right? And so we would, write a story featuring a boutique, featuring a small local business that maybe I had known existed for years and years, but didn't know the backstory and everything this business owner did until I sat down to interview them and we would write the story. And it just kind of fascinated me. And then the business owners on the other end would be getting, after we published these magazine articles, would be getting, more traffic and more attention on social media or whatever. And they'd send us thank you letters to the magazine saying, thank you for doing this article for our business. We're seeing an uptick in traffic. People know us better. We're getting recognized more than before. And I was just this is really, really cool. And I started to just kind of fall in love with writing for business owners, and so kind of making my name known in the magazine world kind of led to people asking me to write other things for them, blog posts, website copy. And I kind of really quickly realized, well, this is when you write words to help a business connect with the people who are looking for what they do. That's called copywriting. And it can really, is impactful. And that just checked all the boxes for me, wanting to help business owners, wanting to do something that kind of mattered, wanting to write, being able to be flexible, being able to write from anywhere. I had 3 little kids. So I really jumped in to learn everything about copywriting, started pitching myself everywhere, applying for jobs, just you name it. And I kind of landed on email and sales page copy because I felt I don't know, it gave me the most creative freedom, if that makes any sense at all. I feel with emails, especially, and sales pages too, I had so much freedom to tell the story and to share the challenges the ideal clients are going through and bust myths, overcome objections, all those things you do as copywriters. I just love the freedom of doing that in email because I think you can make your email list, your email community your own in such a really cool, personal way. And so I loved writing emails and my clients were getting good results. So emails and sales pages have just kind of been where I naturally landed, 5 years later. So
that's interesting. And why female founders? Is that another specialty or is that just something that came about?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm a female founder, right? I have 3 daughters. That just kind of has a special place in my heart because I do have a little bit of that fire in me to be let's go girls. We can do this. Women can do this. And, seeing women succeed and seeing women being able to create their own financial freedom so that they don't have to depend on anybody else if they don't want to. That matters to me on a personal level. And I just wanted to help other people be able to do that, too. So yeah, female founders definitely have that kind of special place in my heart, especially I think as women, we juggle so many things, right? Motherhood, business, full-time job, all the things. And so just really, I relate to those clients a lot. And I want them to succeed so badly. And so I think that's kind of where I landed there. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. It's interesting because when you were talking, I was thinking how when you think about the famous copywriters, the legendary ones,
Yeah.
the ones that come to mind are, all the male, now I can't even think of a
Mhm.
single one. John
Yeah.
Cable's. I mean, they're all like, what are some other ones? All their names are escaping
I
me.
knew what you mean. They've written all the old books, like Dave
Ogilvy. Yeah.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But honestly, a lot of my favorite copywriters to learn from are female copywriters, So, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I just it's a tough thing. It's interesting that you say that, and then it's even like when I was in the fitness world and I was a
Mhm.
personal trainer. I knew a lot of trainers that would not work with men, but that was just because they were so difficult. So, no, I knew
Yeah.
male trainers that would not work with men, and they said because
Really?
I worked with enough of them to know that and this is just I worked with a lot of business people, and a lot of them, they hire you and then they argue with you. It's like you're paying me $100 an hour and you're going to argue about something that So I don't know if that's why I was wondering if it was something like that with you. So it's just funny, but yeah, I admire the fact that you so you do sales pages, correct?
I do. I do sales pages and email copy. I really started as an email copywriter. Again, I loved that freedom of email and just saw everybody knows email stats, right? Like having an email list and being able to launch and build funnels and all those things is a huge part of having a business. And I really kind of, I was writing these launch sequences and writing these funnel sequences and welcome sequences for my clients. And it's like, well, where are these emails going, right?
Right.
They're going to the sales page. And so it's like we have high opens, high clicks, but the conversions aren't there. It's like just following the data trail of like, okay, if you really want a high converting funnel, if you really want to scale your launch so you're not always, on discovery calls and the DMs, you want to be able to launch something and close it on the sales page, a group program usually, the sales page has to convert. And so I kind of flipped my model to say, we're going to start with the sales page because when we have that on point, then we have all the flow of the messaging that we need, right? We have, the pain points, the missing piece, the creator's, the founder's bio story. We have the offer promise. We have all that on the page, and then we can kind of, infuse that into the emails, into the rest of the launch. So now when I work with clients, mostly people hire me for a sales page with the email sequence add-on, but not all the time, but mostly.
That's such a great point, though, because that's, when we talk about getting people at their decision-making stage, like what is, where are they? Are they, unaware? Are they pain aware?
Mhm.
And if those aren't connected, like if somebody comes from an ad and the ad copy says something and it leads into a page that doesn't make any sense, then they're just going to leave. So that's such a smart thing. So I was going to ask about the sales pages because I find sales pages are, and I've written a bunch of them, but they are challenging, aren't they? I mean, they're long. Or do you write long and short? What do you tend to write more of?
Yeah, what I really write a lot of is sales pages for, I call them like one-to-many offers, right? So your group coaching programs, your group coaching programs with a hybrid, maybe one-on-one, a course with, coaching component, stuff like that. So one-to-many offers is kind of what I like to write. And yeah, they're long-form sales pages. I mean, I have like a structure I go through. I think it's maybe I'll say it, Ron, is 16 to 18 sections on the page usually, right? So yeah, sales pages can be hard to write. And I think that's where as copywriters, we can provide such a wonderful service to our clients because a lot of my clients have an incredible podcast. They're really active on Instagram, YouTube. They're talking to people. They're incredible coaches and business owners. But then when you sit down to this sales page, which is like essentially the last thing your clients see before they, pay you, decide to work with you, it's like you can freeze up. You're like, oh, but how do I get everything onto this page just right so that it converts? There's so much pressure and so much to the flow and structure of it. So I think just as copywriters, I think writing sales pages, we can help our clients so much by making those pages convert for them because it's really the last thing, people see before they close the sale. It's important.
Right. Yeah. And it can be kind of intimidating. And a lot of people complain about them, but from what I read, is, because they're so long. Well, if you're on a sales page and you're going to want the product, you're just going to scroll down to the bottom anyway. That's what I do, just all the way to the bottom. What's the price? But if you're undecided, it's all that information that you're going to need in order to make a decision. So, and they convert better. I mean, surveys have shown, I think it was, did you study with Joanna Weeb like I did?
I have learned from Joanna Weeb. Yes.
Okay, because she's the one who said, because I took all of her courses, and she said that she did some kind of study and showed that long form sales pages convert better than short. So you can complain all you want, people, but it's like they work, Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing. I mean, I think people, just to touch on that, I think people are like most business owners, when they're like, I don't want to write this long form sales page, because they don't want to repel clients, right? Like they don't want to do anything to make a client leave the page. And kind of what I always tell them is like, we can make a navigation bar that says like what's inside, investment, FAQs, how it works, so people can navigate around. We can use your headlines strategically so those skim readers can get a lot of information without the details. And then also, I think if you're selling high ticket, I mean, people are not just going to like give you their credit card for a $5,000 off, $2,500 offer on just like a landing page without details. I think that's very uncommon. And so it's like people are either going to have to get the details by getting on a call with you or on the sales page. So it's like, why not give those people who want the details everything they need to make a good buying decision? And I think if you look at it that way, it just kind of makes sense. So
yeah, exactly. And people don't want to get on the phone because they feel like they're gonna get a hard sell. So if you can give them everything they need, I heard a statistic that said that people are 80% of the way to making a decision by the time they get on a call with a salesperson. And this is then a stat that's been repeated on LinkedIn a million times, because people don't want to get on a call. And so anything they can do, if you can alleviate their questions or, their objections ahead of time, then you're ahead of the game. Then they're more likely to call you anyway. So, but can you give examples of emails that we can send to build relationships and start these conversations with our subscribers?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I write sales page copy, and then another kind of branch of my business is I have email insiders. And so inside there, I do like monthly email marketing strategy, right? And like monthly email templates. So emails is a huge part of what I do too. And so, for example, if you are a business owner listening to this, or even a copywriter, some emails that you can send to your list to build relationships. I'll just give you some of my favorites and we can pick them apart. So one of my favorite emails to send at the top of the month, and it depends on your business model, how you want to do it, but I call it like the open calendar. So I've seen people do it a few ways. So some people say, it's October, we're recording this. Let's say at November, the beginning of the next month, you would send an email that says, hey, it's the first of the month. At the first of every month, I open up 5 coffee chats with me. We can talk about, you can set the topic if you want to, right? So maybe for me, if I was doing this, I'd say you can talk about email copy, or we can talk about whatever, if you maybe have marketing questions, launching questions, you get to pick that, right? But you open up a limited number of like coffee chats to your email list just to make connections with people. Another way you can format this is to do like a limited number of low ticket or free audits. So sometimes at the top of the month too, I'll say like, hey, I have 10 spots for sales page audits open this month. And I will go through your sales page with a full Loom video and tell you like 4 things you can do to make it convert higher. They're like $47, like first come, first serve. So basically it's an email. Those are 2 different ways you can structure it, but it's an email that goes out to your list at the top of the month, basically opening your calendar to chat, to give a little in form of an audit or a call, whatever that looks like for your business, to your audience. So that's one example.
I love that. And it's something that I never thought about that before. Because, I think there's, we're kind of hesitant about giving away too much. You always hear about that. It's like, because I'm asked sometimes to do some free things, and it, it's always with the promise of exposure. And I don't accept hardly any of them unless I know the person can really give me that audience, like they're going to put me in front of that audience. But those are kind of, like if you were to do, like you said, 5, like a month, do people usually take you up on it? I mean, do you usually fill those slots pretty quickly?
Yeah, I really do. And honestly, I've changed like I used to do just free coffee chats. And I loved that, and I know people like, it depends on like, where you are and whatever stage of life you're in and how much you want to get on the phone and things like that too. But I loved getting to meet people on my email list and, just kind of go into it with not the expectation like you're going to book a client or get a big opportunity, but just kind of like open mind, like who is this person? How can I help them? And honestly, so much came back to me in those calls in the form of like, oh, these are the questions the people on my email list have, right? Like these are the things they're wondering about. This is what they're doing and what they're trying to create and how can I help them? So it's like a really, at the very least, a cool connection and a really great market research opportunity. Now what I've been doing more is the low ticket audit route, right? So I open up at the top of the month. Like I said, right now, I think the number is 10 sales page audits. And it's just like a no-brainer service. For $47, they get like a full Loom video from me and edit their page. And then I will pitch, to work if I think very lightly at the end, be like, hey, if you ever just want to hand this off, like, here's my page, it tells you more about what I do and, whatever. So again, just kind of seeing what's out there, seeing like, oh man, I really can help the people on my list. This is what I should talk about. This is what people need. I mean, yeah, it's a great email.
Yeah, I love that. And it's almost like when you talk to somebody that you've met on LinkedIn or any other social media, it's always kind of surprising that I'm always surprised by how different the person is than when I picture them. Like, because you get this certain impression for them from what they're posting and it's not good or bad. It's just that you all of a sudden, like that thumbnail becomes a human being,
Totally. Yeah. There's really something to be said for making those personal connections and relationships. I mean, I think if you're in business for the long game, my dad's a business owner my whole life. And I remember he told me this all the time growing up, and I didn't mean anything to me really until I had my own business. But he was always like, it's not really what you know, it's kind of who you know, and that's kind of true as a business owner. Like, I mean, think about it. Like, if you're going to buy something, you are buying from people that you know, that you've talked to, that you've seen talk somewhere else, that your colleagues refer you to. So I just think that stuff goes a long way.
Yeah. And especially with all the talk about, Chat GPT and AI, I think we're really craving that personal connection to people, because there's so little of it and it's just changed. Like just customer support has changed. And now you get caught in this endless loop on the phone. It's like all you want is to have a human being, someone who's preferably not reading from a script, because you get that too. Then they get on the phone, they're like, you can tell they're reading something. It's like, all right, But what about, when you have to write an email and you're really stuck on what to say? I mean, first of all, when does that typically happen? Like, if you do sequences, aren't they pretty much automated? Like, how often do you really have to figure out, what is it to say?
Oh, that's a really good question. So, yeah, definitely have sequences set up in your business. So if someone opts into your list through whatever way they do, whatever lead magnet you have out there, I think having a sequence set up behind it just kind of makes you feel relieved you're providing customer service even when you can't be there. So even if that's just one email that's like, hey, welcome to my list. This is who I am. This is the free thing you got. I'll email you twice a week going forward. The end, It doesn't have to be a full-on funnel until you're ready for that. But in between, I always kind of tell people, right? Like, so the relationship building emails we're talking about right now are kind of like, what do you send when people aren't in a funnel? What do you send between launches so that when you launch, people aren't like, who is she? What does she offer? What are they doing? So that's kind of the emails that we're talking about here. And if you're having struggles with what to say, a couple of things always help me do that. So one, sometimes it's just a matter of setting a timer and doing some free writing. I call it free writing. So you set a timer for 15 minutes and just say, I'm going to write for 15 minutes about whatever comes up, and let yourself, I don't know if you've read the book, The Artist's Way, but that's very kind of like an artsy kind of thing to do. But sometimes people like wait for these ideas to come before they write. And for me, I would say 99.9% of the time, the ideas come after I sit down and start writing. Then like the ideas kind of form. So give yourself permission to write without making it beautiful, without making it perfect. And you can always go back and edit later. You can't edit a blank page. So the goal of the free write is to just get something out. Obviously, you can also talk, write voice recording apps on your phone. I'll do that sometimes if an idea is really stuck. I'll go for a walk, just talking to my voice recorder and trying to ideate what I want to say. Yeah, those are some really good tips. And I think last is just following, like as copywriters, we know that rule of one. So get an outline of like, who's the one person I'm talking to? What's my one topic for this email? What's my one call to action? Okay, now I know where I'm going. Let's free write and fill it in, go back and edit it later.
That makes so much sense. And I love how you talked about going for a walk, because when we're sitting in front of our computer, like especially a blank page, that's when I think it's when you're least creative. It's like, if I just sit here and try to think of something, I'll just get like fewer and fewer ideas as long as I sit here. But then I go to get up and get a drink of water or something, and all of a sudden I have like 5 ideas. You know, what's funny with me is I tend to wake up with ideas. I had one this morning about something that I've been working on with a client, and it just hit me. That happens so much. It's almost like overnight, like my brain, like, you know, and I know this works with a lot of people. It clears out all the excess stuff, and now we can get down to what, you know, what's going to solve this problem. So it's just funny. But
I love that story.
Are there any other strategies for like writing emails that people love to read? Do people love to read emails, you think? I mean, that's the first question.
I know, that's such a good question. I think people love to read emails that are relevant to them and that speak to something that's relevant to them, solve a problem, give them information that they're looking for. I think people read good emails, right? So I think my main strategy to write emails people love to read is that rule of 1. And then also I think another strategy would be to not be afraid to share. I always say, like, say what you really think, but that doesn't mean like you have to be controversial or like political or like spicy or anything like that. But I think the best performing emails I see right now that I write for my clients and that I, you know, just my colleagues, what I see working is like emails that you are not afraid to be like, this is what I think. This is my approach. This is how I do the thing I do, right? This is my framework. This is why I do what I do. I think those are so powerful because you're kind of like putting your stick in the sand, so to speak, of like, you know, this is what I'm about. This is how I do things. And you're kind of coming at it with that energy of like, I'm confident in it, take it or leave it, right? So for example, I just sent an email to my list this week. I can't remember the subject line. It was something like, using pricing urgency to sell high ticket is unethical. Prove me wrong, or something like that. And I really believe, like the point I made in the email, I believe it. And that's how I structure it on sales pages when I do it. And so yeah, your process, your approach, your framework. And then I also think something to your, you know, like if you're teaching something or you're doing something, I'll just use sales page copy because whatever, that's what I do. It's like, instead of being like, this is how you should do it. This is how you should do it. You know, being like, this is what I'm doing right now. This is what I see working right now. Here's what I'm doing, right? And so kind of like using your stories and the things you help others do from that angle of like, more like, don't like not just teaching, but like documenting what you're doing and showing that, showing what your clients and you are doing. I think those are the most kind of powerful emails I see working right now.
Yeah. And it makes sense because people do want to know like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, it's always the most powerful thing. And because I've thought of doing that even with like behind the scenes of my podcast, but I feel like, I mean, the artwork I have around my office is very kind of esoteric and like I have a lot of pop culture things, like even like what's behind me. And it's like, are people going to judge me? And then I think, you know, I don't know, it shouldn't matter because this is how I do things. And it's kind of messy, you know, but it all works out. But yeah, I know I'm interested in other people, how they do it. Right.
Absolutely. I think behind the scenes is excellent. And that's a good email you can send too that I kind of recommend to people is like, I call it the Friday, like win and learn email. So like, if you're really just like, I don't know what to say to my email list, just kind of like Linda said, like letting people behind the scenes every Friday or maybe a Monday, whatever, you sit down and you think, what's one thing I learned this week? What's one win I'm celebrating this week as it relates to you and probably your clients too, right? And just share that. Like this week I worked on this. Oh my gosh, I learned this huge lesson. This week I had this massive win. Here's what happened. And I do that email a lot when I don't really know what to say. And it's kind of like when in doubt, document. Like, what are you doing this week? What are you seeing working? What are you learning? You know, what are you experiencing? It goes a long way.
But there's something that happened to me last week that it's in my head. I'm going to make it a LinkedIn post because it was kind of funny. And I was able to easily relate it to like copywriting. We have I live in a gated community, humble brag, I know. But the thing is, the gates to exit and enter were shut down because they were paving the road. No warning, nothing from, the whole management. I mean, nobody said anything. So we've been here for 2 years, but I had no reason to go to the rest of our complex. So I'm trying to find a way out. I had to get to the grocery store. I got so lost. It was ridiculous. And I had to pull the car over, and I was literally 2 blocks from my house. I had to take out the navigation. It was one like right turn, left turn, and I was on like the road I wanted to be on. But I thought, what about, I could relate that to like a landing page, or to a homepage that takes you nowhere, or a website that takes you nowhere. So
I love that.
Because you're there, that the information is there, but you just can't find your way out. Like, where am I going? And I thought, but that's how you're marketers, when you start thinking about like that. I felt so dumb. I'm like, I know I'm like 2 blocks from my house, can't find my way out of here. And everything was blocked. It was crazy. So yeah, it was actually a little bit weird. I got to see everyone's Halloween decorations, which was pretty terrifying out here. But and you mentioned like email strategies that are really successful. Is there something in particular right now that's working for you, or that you see working out there as a strategy?
Yeah, I think so. Emailing your list consistently will always be the best strategy, whatever that looks like for you. And really thinking about, what is the purpose of your email list for your clients? Like, what are they there for? Like, why would they join your email list? Like, what's in it for them? Right. And then also add to that, what's the purpose of your email list for you as the business owner? Like, why do you have this email list? Are you going to use it to make sales? Is it a creative outlet? Is it a way for you to make connections and collaborations? Like, what is it for you? And combine those two together. And I think, because people are always like, how much should I email? What should my strategy be? And it's like, well, we need to back up and see, like, why would your clients join your list? What can you give them? And then what is in this for you? Like, why are you doing it? Right? If it's to make sales and launch, well, then, your strategy is going to be a lot different than the business owner who's like, I just want to write, a letter, keeping people updated in my space or something like that. That's like 2 different strategies. But I say knowing the purpose of your list for yourself and your clients is huge. And then being consistent with whatever strategy you land on. I mean, I know there's like a lot of talk about consistency. So don't beat yourself up if you miss your email on a Monday. Like, nobody cares about that as much as you, I promise.
Right.
But just kind of thinking about like what you can literally do and keep up with. And that takes a little bit, sometimes to land on and figure out what your strategy is. So I guess like mostly don't be afraid to pick a strategy, try it, and then pivot if you need to. I think a lot of people waste a lot of time or just never start emailing their list because they're so worried about doing the right strategy. It's like, you just got to do one to know if it's for you. I honestly believe that. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful or not.
Oh yeah. And if it's interesting, or like I noticed, because I always look at the emails that I get from other copywriters to see, because I have a list and I do send it out, but I don't, I send out every Thursday. And sometimes it's like, I feel like I should, I don't ask for sales, because really what in my sales and my clients are usually B2B marketers. And I think most of the people, from what I can tell, and this would be something that'd be great with that coffee chat idea that you said, most of the people that join my list are other copywriters, because that's what I post about. So yeah, so it's kind of, I'm not really working with other copywriters unless it's a collaborative thing. So yeah, it's kind of, it's something I need to look at that I haven't yet, because I just haven't. Because I think mine is more of a creative outlet sometimes.
I get it. And that's totally cool too, because I mean, that's a great way for you to meet other copywriters and get, collaborations and referrals and all those things. So like for your list, if you think it's mostly copywriters, you could do so much with that. Like you could say, like, let's just pretend you're trying to fill website copy or something like that. But like, hey, everyone, I have 2 website copy projects open for February 2025. Does anyone, know of anyone? Does anyone have extra work they're looking for? Like maybe you could get partnerships that way, or people who are passing off clients to somebody else, or like, you never know, referrals, all of those things. Another thing too that I recently did, if there's copywriters listening to this or any done-for-you service providers, I recently launched like my done-for-you copywriting service. Like I did like an email launch to my list selling my sales page copy service. And that was such an eye-opening experience for me, and such a good thing to do, to like kind of force yourself, for lack of a better word, to launch and promote your own offers as a copywriter, and to really like kind of leverage your list that way and be like, okay, I built this list. Like, let's see what I can do here. So yeah.
Yeah. I try to just provide exclusive, even if it's not exclusive tips on my newsletter,
Yeah.
it's something that comes out ahead of me posting
Yeah.
it elsewhere, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
but yeah, well, you gave us so many good tips. Like I'm going to go back and listen to this again because I didn't take enough notes because I didn't want to type along as you were talking. I have to go back and listen to it. But where can people find you if they want to work with you or want to know more about your services?
Yeah, thank you for the great interview, Linda. It's so nice to be here. So I'm just at jennyrothcopywriting.com. That's my Instagram. I'm on there on Tuesdays. It's at Jenny Roth Copywriting. And then I have a podcast as well, which Linda is a guest on. And I don't know when people are listening to this, but that episode will go live in December.
Well, cool.
But yeah, so it's the Email Marketing Podcast. You can find that anywhere. Yeah.
Well, I'll put all that in the show notes. And this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for being here, Jenny. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.